So thank you so much for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn session. We've got two wonderful presenters with us sharing experiences, and I know you will find it really valuable. But before we start, I just want to remind everybody that at the GSE this year, we are raising some money for some really kind of valuable charities. The first one is the RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, and the other is the Guide Dogs for the Blind charity. So you can see the details on the screen. So please do donate if you find today's session useful. And I will put the link for the donation in our chat towards the later part of the presentation. Now, in today's session, I'm going to keep everybody on mute, if that's okay. If you do have a question, please put it in the chat, and I'll take the questions, and time allowing, we will put those to our presenters today. And we have two wonderful presenters, and they're going to be sharing their experiences about their journeys. But before I introduce them, I would like to just take a few moments to set them in context, really. So for the last 2 weeks at the GSE, we've heard how wonderful the Mainframe platform is, and how important it is to organizations and other organizations around the world. However, there is still one issue that we know still haunts the Mainframe, and it's still often viewed as not being agile, not being as nimble as other platforms. The perception itself is changing, but we have to sustain that push to educate and grow awareness of just how effective the platform is, and the job that it does is so valuable. So that's why I believe, anyway, the real-life case studies that we hear at conferences like this are so important in our ecosystem. So we heard this week in previous presentations from the likes of NatWest, Lloyds Banking Group, Next Retail, about how the Mainframe is core to their business and why modernization is so critical. Now, all these organizations have one thing in common. That is that they've got many years of IP invested in their Mainframe platform and the applications they're running. And that IP is their technology advantage over the startups and the fintechs who are looking to take their business. So today, I've got the pleasure of introducing successes from two organizations, Nedbank and also Lloyds Banking Group, who are both winners in terms of industry awards, because they've demonstrated in the space of DevOps, they are making huge advances. And the awards they've won, let me be clear, these are not in the special category of Mainframe. They are going head to head against all industries and all technology platforms. So later we'll be hearing from Claire Powell from Lloyds Banking Group and how they are really advancing with their quality engineering initiatives within the cards team. But let me first introduce Nedbank. Now, Jakes Willifee, who was scheduled to join us today, is unable to make it. But we do have Lynette Clenans, who's with us. And Lynette has been part of the transformation team at Nedbank right from the beginning, and she's a technical specialist. So, Lynette, without further ado, let me hand over to you. And can you please start with just a brief introduction about yourself? Please unmute if you can, please, Lynette. Thank you. Not working for you? Okay, let me help. 1 second. Maybe I've got to give you further privileges. Okay, let me unmute now. Can you unmute?
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Yes, so Jakes is normally the guy in the limelight, but I've been given the privilege to represent Nedbank and their DevOps team for today's presentation. I'm Lynette Clenans. I've been with the DevOps Nedbank team right from the beginning of their journey, which has been about 2.5 years. And I've watched them go from where they were, which wasn't very agile or DevOps at all on the mainframe side, to where they are today, winning prizes and everybody knowing their story. So my background, I've got many years in mainframe, in the mainframe background, starting off as an application developer through to being in the infrastructure team in the DB2 space, and then technical support on the tools team. So yeah, I've got a lot of experience, and it's really been good to actually be on this journey with Nedbank. So yeah, I'd like to give you guys a little bit of food for thought today and take you through their journey. Okay, so I've put quite a few numbers up on this slide.
Lynette, are you sharing your desktop?
Yes. Okay, let me just stop sharing quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I'd shared the presentation.
Okay.
So, not sure what happened there. So, but let me share the desktop. Maybe that'll help.
Yes, I see that.
See that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have put some numbers.
If you can put that into slideshow mode, please.
Oh, at all?
I know, I'm asking for so much.
Is that right?
Yes, I see it. Thank you.
I'm not sure that this is gonna. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, we see it.
Is that right?
Fine. Perfect.
Okay. So sorry about the technical glitch. Yeah. So the numbers that I want to share with you today are the quantifiable benefits that we got out of the project and the solution that we implemented within Nedbank. So what we saw was a 96% reduction in the build effort, with the developers being able to build and deploy their code a lot quicker. 96% was the saving that they got on their build effort. They got a 91% reduction in their source code review and unit testing, their initial unit testing effort. This saving was due to the fact that they didn't need to go and rely on the SMEs to review their code before they could do a rollout. And they were then able to automatically do their own unit testing. So that was a saving of 91% cumulative over the SMEs and the development space. In the Nedbank environment, they have the change management process over a number of their levels in their development lifecycle before production. And at each of those phases, as we know, there's always documentation that's required to be approved. So from your source listing to your implementation plan, to your backout plan. So a lot of documentation normally goes into this. And through the automation of this, the developers no longer need to supply any form of documentation. So giving them 100% saving on the documentation that they need. And then from a deployment perspective, because it's automated across the environment, we got a 97% reduction in the deployment effort. So as you can see, these numbers are phenomenal. And we definitely saw that. It was measurable. So that is really some great quantifiable benefits that we could get.
So Lynette, can I just ask, are these the kinds of numbers you were expecting when you first started on the transformation?
Not really at all. I think initially it was just a case of let's implement like for like. They were expecting that the developers would take a bit of time to get used to the system, and they weren't expecting to see this amount of or this level of benefit straight up front. So it was very evident right from the beginning, from the adoption of the tools to how they deploy and everything in between. So yeah, definitely a lot more than what was expected. So yeah, so as the image shows in there, it gave their environment a good balance, definitely stability in the environment, and the agility to do things a lot quicker. Okay, did it change at all? So on the right screen?
Yes, it has. Thanks, Lynette.
Right. So the immediate outcomes then within this space was definitely a level of increased automation. We automated as much as we could, as far as we could, and including the pipelines definitely increased the level of automation. With the pipelines and the automation, we were also able to have visibility of cross-platform continuous delivery pipelines. So the visibility from the front end and the back end was very beneficial to the developers. We also then implemented and removed the organizational silos. So in the old ways of work, they had a sort of build the bank and a run the bank environment. So you had the developers, you had the testers, the SMEs that looked after it, and then the production support people. So we managed to get and bring the whole team together, and it gave them the autonomy and the responsibility of looking after their application as a whole. And one of the things we started saying right up front, and it's a saying that I continue to use, is you build it, you run it, you own it. So taking full accountability and responsibility for the application. So with this, it gave their environment the flexibility to be able to work on more innovation, and it saved a lot of time across the board with everybody that was involved. And then, of course, the business impact. So Nedbank had the ability, with having the innovation in place and the time that everybody saved, the ability to compete in today's dynamic digital market. So, they were competitive with the bigger banks, as well as the new smaller digital banks that are being brought online in South Africa. So, so it gave them that competitive edge. We also empowered the mainframe teams to become more efficient and effective. What we know that we have an aging mainframe team that are close to retirement, and then we've got the new guys, the interns and the graduates that are just starting out. They're interested in joining the mainframe, but they're scared of it. So with our technology, with the tool set that we have in place, we are definitely attracting the new gen devs by giving them the ability to work in an environment and a space that they're familiar with, having the Eclipse front end. And what this does is it allows the SMEs to spend more time on these guys in teaching them how the application works, and the tools then teach them how to use the mainframe. So that was really important and quite impressive from our side. We also then improved the delivery velocity through consistent use of automation. So as we grow and as more applications come on board, the delivery for the business is definitely a lot more increased. From a high level, it's very clear to see exactly where you are and where your place is in the environment and then in the economy. How did we get there? So just to start from the beginning of what we went through, the business recognized that there was a threat with aging technologies, with failing applications, and the threat that they weren't able to deliver as fast as what they wanted to deliver. So they gave us this mandate that we needed to improve the environment. We needed to bring them a solution that would allow them to be competitive in the market. So we then took that opportunity to improve the environment, and it was definitely the most important decision that we made. When we started off, we set up a whole lot of working groups. We involved the teams that needed to be involved. So from a pilot development environment across to the infrastructure team, so security, the DBAs, and so on. We got a good group of people together so that we can start working on the solution. We ran a number of discovery workshops where we identified what our pain points were. We identified where our strong points were, the products and a tool set that we wanted to use, and where we needed to plug the gaps. It also helped us to plan the process that we needed to follow and how we wanted to move forward to deliver this solution. In doing this, and having all these people involved, a lot of them being the SMEs, we noticed and identified that there were a lot of people that were scared of change and were worried about what this new solution was going to mean to them. And I'm sure you guys have also heard a lot of people saying, you know what, I've been working like this for the last 20 or 30 years. Why must I change? You know, don't change what works. So we realized and understood that we needed to focus on people change management. We needed to ensure that the culture of the people changed along with the technology that we were providing. So we included the developers, we included the people at all levels, and we took them on the journey with us. And that was really successful. So to share with you the solution that we implemented, we put the building blocks together and included an advanced version control management system. But it wasn't just a version control system. It also assisted us in automatically doing the build, the backout, and the audit capabilities of your version control. So the visibility of your entire source environment was all contained in one place. So from an impact analysis perspective, we were able to identify and pick up exactly where the business, you know, exactly what is running in the business and where everything is. What we needed to do, what we wanted to do was tick a box in having a system out there that gave 90% or 99% of the functionality out of the box. So we wanted to ensure that from the point of view of looking after the environment, that it was vanilla as possible, that it was able to be looked after. You could upgrade, you could do your changes and your fixes and everything without having to rewrite a lot of code, without having to do a lot of scripting. And this solution automatically came with APIs and webhooks out of the box. And we definitely leveraged off of those when we put our automation together. It gave us continuous integration and deployment, where we leveraged off of the Jenkins plugins to assist with our pipelines, and an automated orchestration to enable cross-platform DevOps. So leveraging open integrations. And that was important for us to be able to ensure the developers had access and visibility from the back end through to the front end systems. Okay. So this was our continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline and building blocks. This is what we chose to put together that gave us the solution that we wanted to have in place. So right from the build all the way through to your quality management testing and through to your deployment was all included in this particular pipeline. And we used the XR release as the orchestration tool to pull all of this together. And then,
sorry to disturb you. So there are lots of solutions in the market currently. Did you do an assessment externally of any other solutions, or was this the only choice you had?
No, at all. We definitely looked at multiple solutions. But what we needed to do is to find one that had that out of the box could do a majority of the functions that we wanted to. The other solutions, the issue with them is to try and get the scripting put in place, making sure that your entire application is in one place, and to make it easy for the tools team to have a look and look after it afterwards. The other solutions didn't quite give us that, whereas what we chose gave us almost everything that we were looking for all in one place. Okay. We then have Z Advisor, if you look on the bottom right-hand corner, that gave us a metric system to be able to measure everything that we were doing. So one of the important things that I can put out there is to say, when you're going to go on this route, make sure that you do your before and after measurements so that you can show the business and you can show your application teams exactly where they're moving and how they're moving forward, and also for you to know. So the metrics that we gave you in the beginning was how we identified the savings that we had with implementing this solution. So Z Advisor gave us that. So yeah, so in using the metrics, it's important for you to ensure that you refer back to them on a regular basis. They're important so that you know that the solution that you've put in is definitely moving your environment forward. And one of the main things and the things is to identify the hotspots within your environment. So what that means is to identify where you're spending a lot of your time or not enough time. So whether you're firefighting and attending to production events a lot of the time, whether you're spending a lot of time in doing your builds and development, whether you're spending too much or too little time in doing your testing. So those hotspots are really important for you to be able to identify and know what you need to give to your teams for them to be more efficient. You're identifying underutilized tools or features. So everyone has the tools in their environment, and it really is important for you to identify the features that are being used and maintaining the momentum and the value. So up front, when you're implementing this solution, you give a lot of training. You have a lot of focus around the new tool set and the new features and functionality that is available. But it's important to continue that momentum. So you need to use the metrics to identify what is being used. And with that, we use that quite effectively within the tools team, because from the initial training sessions, there was then a point of time where the developers start using the tools, and we could pick up exactly what they weren't using. And also for new people that join the team. So we had refresher training sessions that we did answering questions and specific areas of focus to allow them to do that. And also, you've got to make sure that you have the right metrics in place. There is a lot of stats and a lot of information that can be counted, but not everything that can be counted actually counts. You need to focus and make sure that what you accumulate and what you have a look at is the right metrics for your environment. And then those feedback loops are gold. The benefit that it buys to the entire organization, from a business perspective to your execs, your CIOs, and even the team leads and the SMEs within your application area. It's really important for you to take every advantage and understanding and moving forward and knowing the metrics on an ongoing basis and not just once off. So I have a picture in the background I put in there of Table Mountain. It's one of the attractions in South Africa. Unfortunately, not where I live, but the reason I put it in is because I want to explain that there are two different ways that you can get to the top of that mountain. One of the ways is through a hiking trail. It's quite strenuous and difficult and takes quite a long time to get up there. But a lot of people that are adventurous will take the hiking trail route. And they've also then implemented a more modern way to get there in using a cable car. So you have a cable car system that gets you to the top of the mountain. And once you're up there, the view is just absolutely fabulous. So whether you're using a quick, fast, more modern way, or you use the more adventurous way, you need to understand and know, once you get to the top there, why it is that you've done what you've done, how you get there and what you see going forward. And that's what's important. So I just wanted to share that with you. And that's all. You've been up there. You can tell everybody how nice it is.
Yeah, I have been there, and the view is wonderful, whether you hike up the trail or whether you go by cable car. So I can't wait to come back again, Lynette.
That's all. And then obviously, once we've now achieved quite a lot, we've got to an area of stability in our environment. We have all the developers working on the tools and moving forward. But what's our next? What lies ahead for us? You know, we understand and know that we need to continue to develop cross skills across the different functions. So we broke down the silos, and you know, each person, or you'd have one or two people that had particular roles and responsibilities. And we want to be able to ensure that we cross skill across the department and give the business the ability to do that. We also want to develop value stream aligned release trains, so to ensure delivery with a single cadence. And that is important within our environment, and we'll continue to do that. And then definitely focus more on the quality engineering and allowing the developers to further shift left and ensure that that sort of testing gets done, you know, earlier in the life cycle rather than later. So I added a picture of a lion here, and I'm sure you guys all know that the lion is the king of the jungle. And yeah, so they might not be the biggest animal. They look quite nasty sometimes, but they're definitely not the biggest. The elephant, I think, is the biggest. But with a lion, everybody respects and knows that they are the king. When a lion sees an animal, they think food. And when all the other animals see a lion, they think run. So, you know, what lies ahead for Nedbank, we definitely want to be like the lion. We want to take what's ours. We want to move forward. We want to move forward with pride and have everybody, you know, everybody respect where we're going and what we've done. And yeah, the lion being the king of the jungle. No matter what the economy is in the jungle, the lion is never going to eat grass. Okay, so Jakes, who was going to and should have been representing Nedbank here, is out there being more human. He enjoys camping. He enjoys the bushveld and seeing all the wild animals out there. And that's where he is now. And look at that big smile on his face. And he definitely deserves it. He knows that he can sit there and relax, no cell phone signal whatsoever, because everything is running smoothly back at the office. And that is definitely what we want to put out there. We want to be able to empower people to be more human, to have more time, and to be able to enjoy what you enjoy. Thank you, Atul. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Lynette. That was really interesting. It's good to hear the actual journey, the steps in the journey towards success. And it's really all about getting an appreciation of that and what steps that we could actually learn from as well from you. So thanks so much. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if we have time towards the end of the session, then we will see if we can get some more questions in at that time. Okay, so thank you so much. So now let me move on to the second of the two presenters today, and hopefully you can see my screen. So we're now going to Lloyds Banking Group, and I'd like to welcome Claire Powell. Now, I'll let Claire introduce herself, but I'd like to let everybody know, first of all, some breaking news that it just came out, in fact, yesterday, that the Claire's team, which was a pilot lab for an initiative, actually got recognized for the most innovative project as part of the DevOps Industry Awards. And if you saw Reg Wilkinson's presentation yesterday, then you'll understand why they won. So huge congratulations to Claire and the Lloyds Banking Group team as well for that award. So without further ado, let me introduce Claire Powell. So Claire, please take the screen and share with us how quality engineering plays such a huge part in your success.
Thanks very much, Atul. And I'll just say that really all recognition has to go to Reg and the team for the DevOps Award.
Okay, excellent. But you're part of the team.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so just to introduce myself, I'm Claire Powell and I'm the lead quality engineer in the card servicing lab at Lloyds Banking Group. I started my career about 25 years ago in another financial organisation as a systems assistant, testing all things on 3270 IBM terminals, making changes to what was the original green screens, and then pulling reports from dot matrix printers and how things have changed since then. So I moved to Intelligent Finance, which was a startup business, part of the Halifax in 2001, and tested all things interest related on the mainframe again. I did this for about 8 years and then moved into the world of credit cards. So during my career, I've made my way up from test analyst and then became an ISTQB Advanced Certified Test Manager. So in 2018, Lloyds Banking Group division of Group Transformation was initiated, where I moved with some of my team into the card servicing lab as part of consumer servicing. So what does a card servicing lab do? Well, we service debit and credit card customers across the LBG estate. And with that comes a large and complex technology landscape that requires to be thoroughly tested for delivery of each of our features and enhancements that we make for our customers. So just to highlight, I am on my own quality engineering journey. I was probably mainly a UAT test manager. So this role is really far more technical than I've been used to in the past, but it's a great way to learn about automation, tooling, and subsequently agile ways of working. So I just want to run through a couple of areas of testing, the evolution of testing. Where did we start? Where are we now? What is the role of quality engineering that we have in Lloyds Banking Group? What are our ways of working? Some of the benefits of automation, our challenges, and then a conclusion. So the evolution of testing, where did it all start? So back when I first started my career in testing, testing was considered a necessary evil, which cost lots of money and was seen as providing no real benefit. However, over time, this way of thinking has drastically changed. Development and testing activities were treated as exclusively independent in the change life cycle. So once the software was ready, it was then passed over to the testing team for verification. And testers were not always involved in the early key stages, such as requirements gathering, and they had limited interaction with any business stakeholders. The testers were dependent on the knowledge passed on to them through documents, and they had to gather knowledge from the developers who had written the code. Testers would create a test plan based on their own understanding and then test the software in the way that they knew how to. And this was generally done manually, and a lot of time it was on an Excel spreadsheet and results captured in a comments box. And testing was always the last piece of the puzzle, and often because design and development activities took much longer than anticipated, the test phase of changes was the area that was always shortened and squeezed. And this led to delays in implementation, as defects, as everybody's probably aware, can often be found very late in the cycle, and fixes cause delays to our releases. So testing was always seen as a problem area, and yet this is actually probably the key to a successful delivery. The advent of exploratory testing then allowed testers the opportunity to not only test, but also to break software. These tests weren't scripted, and they allowed the testers to use their own thinking of, well, what happens if I do this? They were given free rein to experiment in the system and test the system in the way that had never been written down or expected. And this led to defects being uncovered which may never have subsequently been seen, and they would have ended up in production. And so where are we today? Well, as we're aware, technology is always changing and it never stands still. And it's never been more important to leverage the technology at our fingertips and move with the times in the digital era. Nowadays, testing is seen as a fundamental phase in the delivery life cycle, and quality is of the utmost importance. Testers are empowered to make decisions and provide crucial contributions during the design of features, ensuring that quality is at the heart of every decision made. The introduction of automation has been a key example of this in the testing of software. Delivery of features in smaller iterations has paved the way for automation, and with vast amounts of tools and frameworks available, the more repetitive and mundane tests, such as regression testing, can now be automated to free up the real skills of testers who can influence delivery. So what is a quality engineer? So I think the first thing to say is that quality is everybody's responsibility, not just testers, and it should be at the heart of what every team delivers. If the team's first thought isn't how can we deliver a quality feature to the business and to our customers, then the chances are their delivery won't meet the expectations. Quality engineers are involved throughout the entire development lifecycle, and they'll focus on quality to deliver value and the right products for our customers. It's not just testing, and it isn't just a change of title from one day being a tester to the next day being a quality engineer. The role is much greater than that. QAs are SMEs in the applications that they are testing and are key to ensuring that the quality of the code or the system being delivered is as expected. So the aims of a quality engineer, well, they're there to execute as much testing as possible. This enables swift and early resolution of quality defects, and defects that are found much earlier in the life cycle are easier and cheaper to fix. They look to remove any external dependencies in terms of support required, so things like environmental setup and data dependencies on other teams. And they'll always be looking to other teams for cross-usage of environments, but it should always be a consideration because there may be multiple teams that use the different environments. They'll look to maximise test efficiencies by optimising test coverage and avoiding duplication of effort. And the aim of a quality engineer is to carry out testing of a function, considering all areas, functional and non-functional alike. And lastly, but very importantly, they should always be looking to maximise the use and benefits of test automation. So how will they do this? Well, generally they'll work in a feature or a component team, and they'll lead the testing to deliver quality code or system performances into production and build quality into the life cycle. They'll work collaboratively with the whole team, putting forward ideas to enhance the delivery and testing. They'll consider all types of testing as mentioned, functional and non-functional. They'll generally be specialised in an area such as functional testing, but at the outset they'll need to involve potentially different areas who might carry out the likes of non-functional testing, load, etc., and they'll get these people involved as well. They'll focus on shift-left testing, eliminating defects much earlier in the life cycle, and they'll aim to adopt an automation-first approach. And they'll understand the automation frameworks and coding standards that are deployed within the team. They'll work in a cross-discipline team, so not only leading testing, but they'll have a variety of skills from communications to stakeholder management and are ultimately what we call T-shaped, so they won't just do testing activities. So the accountabilities of a quality engineer. So as mentioned, it's a key role in any feature team. They'll interact with a number of key stakeholders driving forward quality. And their role is to be consistently communicating and collaborating with other team members. Business analysts and software engineers are key to the discussions with quality engineers. And that brings out the three amigos, which they'll look at, here's what we want to deliver, here's how we want to test it. So then in turn, here's how we want to build it. So quality engineers will deal with assessing changes from a testing perspective. This can then be prioritised into the team's backlog depending upon the size and picked up in a subsequent sprint. They'll collaborate with the team and business stakeholders to clarify requirements in terms of testability, consistency and completeness. They'll be responsible for planning out the testing in each of the iterations and ensuring that we have stories created for traceability. They'll create all of their test artifacts, which will be in line with our lab test strategy. They cover things like your test plan, your end test report. And whilst we do work in an agile environment, it doesn't mean that documents don't exist. So we need to ensure that if we say we're going to test something, it's documented and signed off. We do have to be auditable and have to have all these documents safely stored. They may configure, use and manage our test environments. And test data is a big consideration for everything we do, and we should always be looking to use manufactured data and not live data wherever possible. The QEs will ensure that the right tool is being used for the testing that they're undertaking, and it's their responsibility to think about the tools and evaluate which tool is right for the job. They're responsible for the reporting of their defects and then working with the team to resolve these, retest them, and then have that implemented. They'll be responsible for producing daily status reports, which generally are generated from our test management tools such as ALM and Jira that I'm sure you've all heard of. But just like quality, risks are also everybody's responsibility, and QEs must keep this in mind at all times during testing and raise risks as early as possible. And then they'll provide their input into the end of testing with regards to deployment into production, suggesting and implementing any improvements. So just like testing, the delivery of change has evolved over time, and we're moving away from more waterfall projects and delivering via agile ways of working. So waterfall delivery is obviously very rigid, with requirements being defined at the start, and only once development is finished does it then move into testing, which results in one huge large release at the end of the programme to develop the change. So how have we evolved? Well, many of you will be aware of Agile, and this is the delivery mechanism that we use in the card servicing lab. I'm not going to go into details about Agile because I think that's probably a whole presentation all by itself that I'm probably not the best person to deliver. But what are some of the benefits? Well, it helps to reduce risk. By working in iterations, it means the team begin to meet the solution for the user requirements much earlier on. They can feed back together and they can look at issues that need to be identified, which enables changes to be made much earlier in the cycle. It means we deliver the right product. So stories are written as if they are the customer, and how do we develop the product and test it, and this allows us to gain early feedback. It provides greater flexibility. So in Agile, change is expected, which then goes into your product backlog, and you can pick up and redefine and reprioritise. And testing equally can be altered during that iteration to make it fit with what's being delivered. Very different to the waterfall method of delivery. And it continuously focuses on quality. So the focus in Agile is of the highest quality. And since testing is integrated throughout the development process, defects can be uncovered early, which allows fixes to be implemented and retested during each iteration. And it provides a real team ethos. The team collaborate together to produce quality change during the iteration, and they work together to overcome problems, which in turn creates a culture of continuous improvement. So shift left testing. So shift left is a key practice that enables the detection of defects by testing early in the development life cycle. And as shown, shift left testing moves the testing cycles into each sprint to validate the quality of the stories being delivered. It allows the automated regression suites to be enhanced throughout and incorporates automation into the testing cycles. Testers are involved from very early on, and they help to define what is required in terms of test plan, resources and dependencies. It helps to remove inconsistencies in the understanding of the requirements and identifies any gaps that maybe haven't been thought about. It helps to ensure that tests and code have both been developed from the same understanding of those requirements, because those constant collaborative conversations are being had. It creates the thinking of the whole team of test early principles. So just like of NFT, we've looked to try and shift NFT into the left instead of leaving it till very late on in the stage. It catches defects as early as possible, and it's the least expensive way to ensure software quality. Early detection obviously prevents defects from moving from phase to phase and then ultimately into production. But manual testing can also supplement the automation tests that are being run. It's not always the case that everything has to be automated, and you wouldn't really want every single thing to be automated. The team can also more accurately assess the quality of the system at any time. They have a full understanding of what was developed, how has it been tested, and is it working as expected. And shift left testing can also help to reduce resource constraints and save money. It protects delivery and implementation dates as well. I just wanted to give you, I think one of my pictures has disappeared at all. Never mind. Oh no, there it is, just moving up. So I wanted to show you one of the latest features that our digital team have implemented, which happened during the pandemic. So as you'll probably be aware, people's spending habits have changed during the pandemic. And a key initiative for Lloyds was the implementation of what's called virtual card. And this is there for debit cards just now, which promotes the use of mobile and digital wallets, allowing customers easy, continuous access to their money without the need for a physical card. So virtual card allows customers to go onto their mobile app and be able to see their card details, so their PAN, their expiry date, and their CVV, which in turn allows them to continue to spend in e-commerce and card not present scenarios where they don't have to have the physical plastic. So whilst that might look quite straightforward and it's just a picture of a card on a screen, there was a huge amount of work involved to actually deliver that. So some of the testing done was carried out through automation. If we look at the likes of API testing, it allows early testing and detection of defects before the user interface testing is there. It provides the ability to test back-end applications without the UI being there, so they can make sure that the requests made are the only valid ones that are processed. They carried out a lot of compatibility testing, which provides greater experience. It looks at the evaluation of compatibility of mobile apps against the hardware and software. So they test this for things like screen sizes for your Android and iOS platforms, and it ensures optimal performance of mobile applications. Carried out accessibility testing, so that just makes sure that people who are in a disability group still have the ability to use our services, whether they are colourblind, hearing difficulties, old age. Accessibility is a huge piece of work for us to make sure our customers can access the services that we provide. We carry out things like security testing, so static application and dynamic application testing, which makes sure that we are identifying any security risks or vulnerabilities. And then, of course, our performance testing. So looking at the types of load to make sure that when we implement this into production, we can be comfortable that regardless of how many customers are trying to access this at the same time, we're not going to breach any of the necessary SLAs that we have. So what are some of the challenges that can be encountered? I think, Lynette, you mentioned earlier on as well that people can be very scared of change, and it's the same changing roles. So if people have been in a role for a long period of time, they find it difficult to understand why they need to change. But as we all know, we're in an ever-changing world and we can't stand still, and we can't carry on doing things that we've always done. So the role of a tester has changed over the years, and there's still a lot of cases where testers haven't been exposed to writing code, development or tooling of any sort, and it can seem really daunting to start on a new journey. But we've got a young generation of people who have a real drive for technology and coding, and it's second nature to them. If we look at what gets taught in schools, I know there's huge amounts of courses for software developers, but I don't know that we necessarily see that for testing, and it's something as a country we need to get better at. Testing is a huge piece of work and should be seen as such. There's always going to be some people that don't feel that the route of automation or understanding what automation is for them, and that's absolutely fine, because we will always need manual testers, and we're here to help them continue to develop at pace and create their own skills and knowledge. But for those who do seek the challenges, it's all about how they can develop themselves. So speaking with people who are SMEs in the area and taking courses for themselves to develop. And as I mentioned at the outset, I am on my own quality engineering development journey, so not really been in a technical role. And for me, it's about finding the right courses, speaking with people, upping your skills on coding and development that I've never been exposed to before. So a great growth of learning that's out there. So again, learning and capability, and it's important that everybody has their own sort of tailored development plan where they really get to grips with what they want to learn at their own pace that's going to help Lloyds. So collaboration, a huge piece for Lloyds Banking Group. We work with our partners, and they're not just vendors, they're not just a company that provides something. We work together as partners, and that's exactly what we need to do. So we're currently looking at our route to live piece, and we're working with BMC to look at tooling that can be offered for that. And we collaborate together, we get together, we have the conversations. It's not a case of you've not provided this, you've not given us that. It's a real collaborative piece of work between our QEs, software engineers, and also the likes of BMC to ensure that we achieve the desired result. So I guess just to sum up, quality engineering is everybody's responsibility. It's not just the role of a tester, but quality engineers will focus on that and ensure that the whole team are basing their delivery of any initiative around quality that we can deliver. And that's me.
Thank you, Claire. That was really interesting. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see that now. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I have allowed you to unmute yourself. So if you do have any questions or comments for either Lynette or Claire, then please feel free to unmute and we can have that discussion. We've got a few minutes still at our disposal. I've also put the feedback link into the chat, as well as the link for the charity donations as well. So do feel free to click on that. If we don't have any questions at the moment, I've got a few things I've noted. And I've got a question, first of all, for Claire. I noticed on one of your slides, you had quite a lot of responsibilities for a quality engineer. Do you find that people often are afraid of moving into that kind of role because of the amount of responsibility, or do you find they settle in and adopt all those kind of capabilities very quickly?
It's quite funny because, as I said, we have moved into an agile way of working, and people will quite often still say, well, why do we need to write so much documentation? We're agile, we shouldn't be doing that. However, we do work for a financial organisation, and we have to carry on doing all those documents. So I think, to be fair, once testers or quality engineers understand their role, it becomes second nature to them. We make sure that our controls are in there and they know what they're doing. So I haven't come across cases where quality engineers are scared of the responsibilities. It just becomes second nature to them.
It does. Okay, thank you very much. And Lynette, I've got a question for you as well. You mentioned that a lot of the mainframers are approaching retirement age. Do you find that they are being supportive of the new gen developers, DBAs, for example, joining the teams, or are they looking just forward to retirement and moving on? What's been their attitude towards the new gens?
So I'd say, before we implemented a solution like this, they really didn't have time to train the new guys and to spend the time with them. They were just trying to keep the system going, trying to keep the lights on, as we say. But I think the shift in how they work has allowed them a little bit more time. So it's given them the opportunity to spend more time with the newer generation of developers and to spend their time teaching them. So they definitely have the will to share their knowledge. And now that they have the time back, they can do that.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I made some notes during the presentations, and the things that came up for me in both presentations is that the teams are taking responsibility for what they deliver, both in terms of velocity, so speed of delivery to the business, but also in terms of quality as well, owning the quality. It's not all about just throw it over the fence to the testing team. So I think that's an observation I had. And also the fact that you can't automate everything. It will take a very long time to do that. So be selective and make sure we choose the high value areas where we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck, really. So I think very sensible kind of output, I think, from both presentations. So I'm looking at the chat now. So we've got lots of thank yous from everybody to say thank you for sharing your stories and taking time to put your presentations together. So without further ado, I think we will say just thank you to both of you once more, and we will close the session. And please do feel free, everybody, to provide any feedback. If we were to do this presentation again in the future, then what else you'd like to hear from us at that time. So once again, thank you, and have a good rest of the GSE.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.